Good morning, West Ham fans. Rush the West Ham Network. Hope you are all well. Back in the office, whispering Budden with my morning musings, and it's not really me sort of amusing, a piece of news, so to speak, and then amusing about it. A little bit more deep diving into something that sort of broke yesterday. Really, obviously, we know we are in the midst of selling Mohamed Kudus potentially to Tottenham. I think that's probably the most likely destination by all accounts. I think the club are hoping for a few more clubs to add to the pot. If anything, just to drive up the cost and price for Mohamed. Although it does like Newcastle are going to be falling out the race if they've just agreed a £55 million deal for Anthony Elanga from Nottingham Forest. So, as Matt said in our group chat, maybe Forest will come in for Kudus. Could you imagine it? Absolute scenes. They're in Europe, aren't they? I also saw that Sunderland are interested in Naif again. That's not going to work. Naif doesn't stay in London. How's he going to cope up north? He just wants to go to the south of France with Marseille, quite clearly. But there is sort of a domino effect with Kudus leaving, in terms of who replaces him. We've been linked to lots of players, arguably players which fit in the mould of the types of types of signings that Graham wants. Sort of young, athletic players who would also impose a sell-on value as well. And then reports came out yesterday of West Ham looking to bring in Ademola Lookman as Kudus's replacement, almost as a direct replacement, with Atalanta wanting around £50 million for the 27-year-old Nigerian international. Former Premier League player, of course. He's played over 300 times, 85 goals. A diminutive player, 5'9" in modern terms. Having a decent season for Atalanta, scored a hat trick in the final, didn't he? But according to Italian journalist Sasha Tavioli, Sasha to his friends, West Ham will prioritise a move for the Atalanta forward if Kudus leaves. He's had 3 years at Atalanta, and he seems poised to end his association with the club this summer and has been linked with some of the big names of European football, including West Ham. Arsenal also meant to be interested in him. However, speculation's gone cold since they switched their attention to Rodrigo from Real Madrid. And he scored last season 20 goals, 7 assists in 40 competitions. This season, that's the season. That season before last. This season, 17 goals and 10 assists in 45 appearances, including the hat trick in the Europa League final. It sort of goes against everything that Potters wants to bring in. He wants to bring in younger players, hungrier players. So we sell someone who's 24 and bring in a 27-year-old pretty much for the same money, maybe a £15 million cheaper, but there's no add-on value there at all. He's a great player. He's a great player. For £50 million for 27-year-old. Am I being naive in terms of pricing? I just think it's a little bit too spenny, as the kids would say. Particularly also because I would assume he would be unavailable towards the end of the year, early next year, because of the AFCONs as well. So not only would you get a player in who's older, yes, he's had a fantastic time in the last couple of seasons for Atalanta in Serie A, but didn't we sign 𝙍𝙀𝙋 out off the back of a 17 goals Serie A season? So it shows that he's in form, but doesn't necessarily translate to banging form in the Premier League as well. Yes, he has Premier League experience. I always remember the last minute penalty he took for Fulham, where he tried to plinker it and it went over the bar, didn't it? In the COVID days. And I just don't think he's the right man for the job. If he was maybe half of that, I think that would have been a good deal because you're going to get a good couple of years out of him. What's his injury record like? Because that's always, when it comes to West Ham players, let's have a look at his injury record. The likes of Atletico Madrid are also interested in him, and Napoli. Right, let's have a look at his injury record. Injury history, yes, we want. Let's have a quick look. Nothing major. Nothing major. Every season he seems to miss a couple of games. Whether it's a hamstring, a couple of hamstring injuries, not particularly, a couple of ankle injuries, but nothing significant. He was out for 7 games in a 22-23 season for a muscular injury. Season for the last 3 games he was out for ankle sprain. 24-25 season he was out for 6 games with a knee problem, but again that's not, seems to be a recurrence. He's probably missed the best part of, since the 18-19 season, he's missed 10, 20, 32 games in 7 seasons. 3 or 4 seasons in it on average. I don't know how I feel about it. I just think with things like that, I don't necessarily agree. As we always say, we put a warning on the front of everything we do in terms of our transfer rumours shows. You know, we're not saying we're signing everyone, and we try and look at everything on face value. Good player, would give pace. There's no doubt about that. He's a clinical striker, clinical forward rather. However, at 50 million euros, I just think it goes against what we're trying to do. I think West Ham of old would have brought Lookman in. I don't know who his agent is as well. That's probably worth looking at. His agent is the same agency as Mohamed's new agency, ROOF, ROOF. His contract runs out in 2027. So he's still got 2 years left in his deal. So again, not really necessarily part of the West Ham MO. We tend to look at players with going into the last year of contract to get a decent deal out of them. Atalanta in no rush to sell. His market value has increased year on year in the last 7-8 years. But that's why I do these musings, because I want you guys to let me know, am I right in what I'm thinking? If it was half price, if it was 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, I would be more okay with it. But 50 million just seems a massive chunk of change, particularly when you've got someone like Luis Guilherme who would come in and do a job and argue. I'm not saying he's a direct replacement, but would do a job. Putting that big money move would make a massive dent. That's probably, if we're led to believe that, he's getting 70% of all the money that's raised in sales as well. That's pretty much all the Kudus money. I just don't think it's worth it. Don't think it's worth it. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It doesn't usually mean that I'm particularly pessimistic. But anyway, keep an eye on the channel as per usual. If you like what we do, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Yesterday, for the evening show we put out there, we did the members draw as well. So if you are, I think it's Surreal Frame and Budgie, you won the members draw for the June draw, so July rather. So congrats. We've also got the Mark Noble raffle in the comments below for a Mark Noble signed 2017-18 shirt. But take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith. From Whisper and Brother. Much love. Bye bye.